The big winner this weekend at the box office was The Clown. It just wasn't the one that you think it should have been. The Joker 2 absolutely collapsed in historic fashion and fell to Art, the Clown from Terrifier 3. The numbers don't lie, but they are yet incomplete as we still await the actuals. And the second weekend of Joker 2 could actually fall even further, be even worse than they are, while Art could actually pick up another million or two by the time the final numbers come in. So the question becomes, what happened here? And is there a discussion to be had that perhaps with very rare exception, that the superhero film franchise or those adjacent to it are dead? Renegade Online. 7 days ago, 7 short little days ago, we were covering this last Sunday, kids. No one's laughing now. Joker 2 falls down with $39 to $40 million opening. Now, Pro and I were both correct on this count last weekend. We said, given the way that this movie was trending down in its tracking into its opening weekend, that 39 to 40 was going to get missed. It would probably come in a couple of million shy of that. Sure enough, it came in closer to 37 and a half. So that was big indicator number one.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it had done what we said. That's how little I've paid attention to this movie. I'm glad that we're keeping up with this level of suck.
I want to remind everybody at the end of last weekend, the domestic box office total, well, we'll show it right here. What was the exact final tally? It kept falling even through Monday. 37.6 million. So not 40, not 39, not 38, $37.67 million opening weekend, an 81% drop into the second weekend. Now that's probably about where I thought it might wind up domestically, because the first one, remember, the first Joker film, the ratio was 2-1, international versus domestic. So twice as much in terms of retail box office ticket sales came from international markets. China was not amongst them. For the first Joker movie versus domestic, U.S. and Canada. So my supposition was that what we were going to see was a better of a hold internationally, because that was where it was strong. The stronger performance was 2-1, like the first one. That didn't happen either. That's how bad this movie is, kids. International box office went from $81 million Sunday last week, 5-day opening, 81 million, and all it managed to pick up over the last 7 days was about another 40 million. It's done. I think by Monday next week, not tomorrow, but Monday next week, we might see the Joker drop on PVOD. I think they might go PVOD after day 17.
You could be right. And I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if they do pull it sooner.
If not,
it's
it'll
worth
be,
to them, it might be worth whatever penalty, because
yeah.
then they'll make it up, they think, on the back end of the video on demand. So
yeah.
Trying to make money off this
think
movie is like trying to haggle at a charity giveaway. There's nothing to be made now.
Well, that's just it. And that's the key, though, Pro, is that they're not trying to make money off this movie at this point in time. They are simply trying
mitigating
to
the damage. Yeah,
that's it. This is a right now. This movie, and especially given the. I mean, look, we are now over 2-1 international versus domestic, so it's even a little bit more heavily internationally skewed. That gap may actually widen, because to me, the domestic box office has fallen off a lot more quickly than has international.
No, like I said, all the money they just made off of Dune, Godzilla and Kong, and Beetlejuice, just went down the toilet because of this.
They pretty much lost it. Yeah. They're gonna
year,
have to.
And a bunch of here, hang on to my beer moments when it comes to flops, and I can't wait to see the update, because it's been a few years since they've done an update on that flop list. I guarantee you, there's more than half of the movies that should be on that list now are from the last couple of years alone. And we just had
last year,
not too long ago, right? Between the Marvels, Indiana Jones, this movie now, The Flash, should have all beaten out like Lone Ranger and Mars Need Moms.
So we ran the numbers last year. 6 movies took the top 10. So 6 movies flopped hard enough to get the top 10.
Yeah, and I think even if you were to take, maybe not every single
that
one,
goes with my theory, you know?
but I think even if you were to take, I think if you inflation adjusted everything up to this point in the last 2 or 3 years, and you inflation adjusted the losses up, I still don't know if they would equal a lot of these things that we've seen in the last.
Oh no,
years.
that's what I'm saying. Like some of these movies are like 3 Lone Rangers.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at, right? Like even with inflation.
Yeah,
and Tom, the weird thing is those movies ended, departments ended, trajectories ended, careers, and now the studios do these, as you said, triple Lone Rangers, right? We got a John Carter every other month. Nobody loses their job. Nobody
Ant-Man's
says sayonara. Nobody gets blamed. It's just continue on, burn the money, baby.
Let's not even get into Strange Worlds or Lightyear.
I'm happy.
We might be at a point where the top 10 is completely made up of films from the last 5 years at this point.
No doubt.
You throw Joker into the mix and such.
Waterworld looks like a hit.
It technically was, but and that's the weird thing is like, look, people give that movie a hard time. But we're at the point where Heaven's Gate is quaint.
That's pretty bad.
Speaking of a movie able to do it on next to nothing on top of it all.
Yeah, let me.
You could have made, I think, what, 25 Jokers for this movie?
More than that. Yeah, more than that. Hang on. Yeah, we'll get to that one.
I think the budget was 850,000, so that's where I'm like, trying to do fuzzy math, but yeah.
Oh, it's you could have made 100 Terrifier 3s. Because I think the actual cost was somewhere around, I heard $2 million.
That's more than I heard then.
And then the $5 million that was out there included the marketing. So let me get to this. So Terrifier 3, we talked about this particular story on Wednesday. This is what was coming into the weekend. Terrifier 3, and this thing ramped hard. I mean, they were talking about a month ago. Terrifier 3, hey, if it opens with $3 to $5 million, that's a huge win for this film, which of course it would be considering the budget. Very little in the way of marketing. This is all grassroots, word of mouth, building a cult fan base for these.
They had a
films.
thing going with Spirit Halloween too. Did you see those videos? I've never even seen these movies, and those videos made me laugh.
Yeah,
and maybe kind of want to check it. I mean, I've got the first 2 movies, but I haven't watched them yet. So
yeah, I watched the first 2 Terrifiers. So I mean, I enjoyed them. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. They were zany, crazy, psycho slasher films, right?
The second one was 850,000. Maybe that's what I saw. That's the way.
Probably
I thought.
so. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So let me give you guys a quick angle on this. And it's something you guys probably have already thought of. I think I'm just giving voice to something the audience is probably hoping we'll say, and that is that when we look back at Lightyear, when we look back at Strange World, when we look back at movies, The Flash, movies that are supposed to be guaranteed because of the characters and the properties that they feature, we have seen that there is a chasm that exists. Look at Inside Out 2. Had that movie done what Lightyear and Strange World did and inserted divisive stuff into it and subverted expectations, yes, Mr. Johnson, you're still around, then it would have made $300 million, $400 million, just like the movies that did so. But it wiped out, and we know this now, they removed anything that was controversial, they got rid of the stuff that people didn't want, and it made $1.7 billion, something like that. Yeah. Joker 2 is the prime example that audiences have utterly caught on. The normies know. You can take a character who is part of the absolute cultural zeitgeist of knowledge. Everyone knows who the Joker is. The Joker is literally synonymous with anarchist kind of tendencies. He is an archetype that exists in our culture. Everyone knows the Joker. Everyone wants to see the Joker. The women love Harley Quinn. And when you turn that into a terrible musical where he's not even the Joker, and you put Lady Gaga in, you can sing yourself silly. It doesn't matter. There is no character that is safe. There is no franchise that is too big. Everything will fall. Everything will fail when you go woke. There's never been anything as catastrophic as Joker 2, but there will be if studios continue to take the stuff that people love and transform it into what Hollywood thinks we should have to devour.
And I think this is more of a signal that the comic book movie has kind of hit its end. Because we're talking about a movie that just out of pure curiosity, and I may have brought this up last week, but I know I brought it up other places, and I stand by it. Just out of pure curiosity, the Joker should have done twice as good in its opening weekend than it did. Like, the general public turned on this movie before most of them even probably had any concept of what it was. And I think a big part of it is that people are just not going to show up to just any old comic book movie anymore. Unless it's a Spider-Man No Way Home or a Deadpool and Wolverine. Even Guardians of the Galaxy had a soft opening and a soft box office at the end. And word of mouth carried that movie through. And I think you both can agree with me on that one. Because otherwise, if you look back here in the last couple of years, we have not had any successful superhero movies. Basically, you got to go back to like Doctor Strange 2. And even that one tapered off at the end because people figured out that it was a sequel to WandaVision and not a sequel to Doctor Strange.
And it piggybacked off Spider-Man.
Yeah. Exactly. And that was all piggyback
effect.
And I think they finally learned that lesson when it came to Wakanda Forever and Thor Love and Thunder, which the only thing I think helped boost Love and Thunder was that they had what's-her-face back, Natalie Portman.
Well, a big thing has been, I think it has more to do with the fact, or at least as much to do with the fact, again, not so much superhero fatigue, but with the exception.
Well, I don't think it's fatigue. I think it's rejection.
It's rejection because we've had so many bad ones.
Exactly. I think you put out a good movie like Deadpool, Wolverine, whatever, people will go see it, especially if people give it good word of mouth. But I think this movie tanked so hard before it even had a chance, pardon my French, to get bad word of mouth. That's what I've been trying to point out to people, and that's what people learn. Like, this movie was dead in the water in its preview night, which that's the night everybody shows up.
That's because they allowed reviews to drop like 30 days before this movie came out. People were already seeing it. They were talking about it like professional critics. That was one of the criticisms that was given to the studio and Todd Phillips. Like, they let these horrible reviews just sit out there and rot, no pun intended, for like 3 or 4 weeks before the movie came out, and it gave people ample time who was curious about it if they wanted to go see. They could see that, good Lord, this, not to mention they saw the trailers and the previews, and they had the same reaction we all did, because we're all basically normies here when it comes to most of this stuff, where we just go, it's a musical? What the hell?
This is what I'm saying. Even before anybody knew this movie was going to be bad, right? Because even at the, look at it this way. When Batman 89 hit, the Joker stuff sold more than the Batman stuff. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but the t-shirts, the posters, the toys, Joker stuff outsold Batman almost 2-1. And that's part of the reason why Jack Nicholson made so much money, because he had a piece of the pie.
Yeah, the merch.
And so in that respect, you add in a couple years later, we got Harley Quinn, and that made him even more popular. Like, those two together were like the it couple for DC. Like, you can't get any more popular than those two. Like, there was even a time periods where you could even argue that Harley was just as, if not more popular than Joker sometimes. But that being said, you put her in this movie, by all factors on paper, with Lady Gaga in there kind of canceling out the fact that this is a musical, I think that the audience just doesn't have the desire to show up. And once they started hearing it was bad, a bad movie, then they outright just like, nope, we're not going. Because I don't even see that there was the general audience curiosity factor here, like I normally see with some of these movies, where my normie friends on like Facebook and stuff are tagging their significant others or their friends and whatever and saying, oh, we got to go see this, like they did with Deadpool and other films like that. They didn't do that for this.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.